How's it going, my dreamers? This is Born to Dream, back with our Raid Boss series. Last video was on Machamp, and this video is going to be on Vaporeon. Now, if it is Suicune week for you guys, this is honestly better. I would say just catch your one Suicune and go for Vaporeon instead, unless you already have a giant Vaporeon army. I mean, this is the better Pokemon. And the nice thing about Vaporeon is, Vaporeon Raid Boss is, if you get a 100% Vaporeon, you get a 100% Vaporeon. There's no hoops to jump through. Like, you know, for example, if you have a 100% Eevee, if you don't use the name trick, you pretty much are going to get Vaporeon, Flareon, or Jolteon. And so if you evolve that 100% Eevee, you might get one of these two instead of this. So being able to solo Vaporeon is nice in the sense that once when you defeat the Vaporeon, you actually are getting a Vaporeon. You're 100% going to get a Vaporeon, and it may be perfect. So let's go ahead and jump into the stats for this Vaporeon. So what we're looking at is we have a 205 attack for Vaporeon. It's not too great, but it's good enough to be one of the better water attackers in the game. So that's very nice. Looking at 177 defense, it's not really too great, I guess. The nice thing, I mean, what makes Vaporeon soloable is these two stats right here. Generally, raid bosses will get like a certain percentage boost to their stamina. So like, you know, raid boss like level 1s will have a certain percentage, raid boss level 2s will have a certain percentage, raid boss level 3s have a certain percentage, etc, etc. So given that, I don't think it's percentage. I think it's actually max C or max like health. So I think that's the case. So for Vaporeon, you don't like Vaporeon already has very high HP, so it having like a set HP for itself as a raid boss actually makes it worse because Vaporeon is a very HP bulky Pokemon, not a very defensive Pokemon. So that's what makes Vaporeon soloable over Jolteon and Flareon, as you can see for these two. So if you look at Flareon, for example, Flareon is a 204 defense, 130 stamina. It's going to gain a lot more stamina than Vaporeon. It's going to have the same stamina, but it's better defensively, so it's going to take hits a little bit better, and you know, and there's a lot of other problems with Flareon. And then Jolteon's like the same thing. Jolteon is very bulky in terms of defense. Its HP is not the greatest, so it's able to eat up moves a little better. And what's also good for Jolteon, but bad for you guys that want to solo it, is the only thing Jolteon is weak to is ground. So ground type attackers are really slow, like really slow. Like I saw somebody post something on the Self Road recently, and I think ground type attackers were like the second slowest. I can't tell you what the slowest one was, but the point is they're really slow. So it's really hard to solo a Jolteon. So going back to Vaporeon, another nice thing about Vaporeon is, I mean, there's a couple nice things about Vaporeon. So the really nice thing about Vaporeon is you only have to worry about 3 moves. That's it. These 3 movesets right here are all you have to worry about. And another nice thing is they're all water type attacks. So there is no, you know, Vaporeon might have Ice Beam, and then you have to worry about like how to get the right counters for Ice Beam Vaporeon. Like you wouldn't use like Zapdos or Dragonite against it. Nothing like that. No coverage moves. Just nice and easy 3 moves. That's all you have to really do. That's what I meant by Vaporeon being very vanilla in the last video with Machamp, I mean, there's not much diversity here. It's all pretty much water. So, yeah. So we'll go ahead and look at its counters. So keep in mind that Raikou should be in here, and I would probably say it's a supreme counter to Vaporeon because Raikous can do a lot of damage to Vaporeons. So it probably needs to be in this list, but this was probably done before the legendary dogs were released. So this, just imagine that Raikou is in the top 3 here. I would put him in the top 3 definitely. But we're looking at, for our supreme counters, we're looking at Raikou, Zapdos, and Exeggutor. Exeggutor is a mon that you definitely solo raid before you even get to Vaporeon. So if you want, you probably could max out like 6 Exeggutors, and you could go in and solo a Vaporeon. I don't know if it's that easy. You might need some Jolteons or some Raikous mixed in there. But the point is, you can solo raid a level 2, and you may be able to solo raid a level 3 because of it. So we have those, and then you're looking at your good counters here. Mewtwo is going to be in like every single list, pretty much. So we have Mewtwo, Venusaur, Vileplume, Victreebel, Tangela, Jolteon, and Dragonite. Dragonite's probably going to make most of the list too. So those are your counters. Generally, you want to be using grass-type attackers against Vaporeon because they get that nice resistance to water moves. Electric types you can use, but electric types don't get that resistance. So generally speaking, I think you want to use your electric type attackers in the front versus, you know, having them take the hits, obviously. So, you know, I usually structure mine like with like electric attackers and then just a bunch of grass mons, and then if I have an extra slot, I'll put like a Dragonite or a Gengar in there instead. So from this list, I would say that Raikou, Zapdos might be pretty good. You probably could solo Vaporeon with Zapdos, but I prefer Raikou over Zapdos. I think Raikou does more damage. Exeggutor, Venusaur, and I would say that's about it. I don't know about Tangela. I really want to try Tangela. That's like a really interesting one on here. Just go in with like 6 Tangelas and see if you can solo it. I kind of doubt it, but those are generally what I use against Vaporeons. I mean, you can go with some of these, but Victreebel might be a little frail. I'm not sure. Might be able to do damage, but he might be a little frail. I think Vileplume is like the bulkier of the two, but it won't do as much damage. I would just say go in with Venusaur and Exeggutor if you can, and then electric types for any gaps or holes that you may have. So these are the counters here, and we will go ahead and jump into the battles. So yeah. Okay, sorry I didn't have the team preview for some of these, but I mean, mainly for Vaporeon, you're using the same stuff anyways, so in the next battle, you guys will be able to see what the team I'm using is. It's pretty much the same team throughout. So this one is going to be Water Gun, Hydro Pump. This is Water Gun, Hydro Pump, Vaporeon. I'll say that Water Gun Hydro Pump is maybe the easiest, mostly because if you dodge the Hydro Pump, you're pretty much in the clear. As you can see there, I'm dodging with Raikou a lot. If you dodge a Hydro Pump, you could probably get, like, let's say, for example, with Raikou, you could probably get, like, 3 Wild Charges off before the next Hydro Pump happens. So, that's what you see there. If you don't have Raikou, you can go in with Zapdos. If you don't have Zapdos, you can go in with Jolteon as the lead Pokemon against Vaporeon. And then you go in with your grass attackers. So this is my Bullet Seed, Solar Beam, Exeggutor. And typically, I think you want to go for Solar Beam because Solar Beam does a lot of damage. I think you can go for Seed Bomb, but Seed Bomb doesn't do too much damage. I think Solar Beam is the preferred move against Vaporeon, as you can see, all of my grass attackers are going to have Solar Beam. So this Venusaur has Vine Whip and Solar Beam, and the quick move I think for Venusaur, if you're going to use it against Vaporeon, is important, because when you're using Vine Whip, you want to be able to dodge, and then when you're using Razor Leaf, you're just going straight in. So here I actually do want to dodge against Vaporeon, so I'm going for Vine Whip, and as you can see, I did manage to pull off a dodge, so that way I can get another Solar Beam off. That's going to be a crucial point in the match, because I think it's going to be the decision between me soloing this thing and me not soloing this thing. So next up, we have the Bullet Seed, Executor, Bullet Seed, Solar Beam. They're all pretty much the same moveset. There's not too much different. So it's mainly Raikou, and then like 2 or 3 Executors, and then 2 Venusaurs is what I'm using. Just use whatever the best grass attackers you have. That is what I would say. Just use whatever your best CP grass attackers are. Any grass move is okay, depending on which Vaporeon you're taking on. So, like I've said before, they're all pretty much the same thing. So, like, I'm pretty much using the same team throughout this whole thing. But we managed to take it out, and yeah, not much to say about Hydro Pump. Just make sure you dodge the first Hydro Pump, or you're dodging Hydro Pumps when you're not about to get knocked out, and you should be alright. It's not too difficult, but Vaporeon is also very bulky, so you gotta keep that in mind as well. So alright, next up we have Water Gun, Water Pulse, Vaporeon. Again, sorry for jumping into the battle so quickly, but yeah, so we're doing this, and Water Pulse is a little harder than Hydro Pump, obviously. You don't want to dodge too much against Water Pulse, but you also need to dodge a few of them. They hit pretty decently, especially on your electric types, like on this Raikou here. Water Pulse isn't really that good of a move, but I mean, if you take a hit from any raid boss, it's gonna hurt. So, yeah, I'm just going in, doing the same thing as I did with the Hydro Pump Vaporeon, just going in with this Raikou, doing as much damage as you can. And as you can see, Raikou did a lot of damage to this Vaporeon. And then we're just going in with Executor. Executor is just going to do a lot of DPS. A lot of bullet seeding, a lot of solar beaming, and I usually don't dodge too much with Executor. I mean, maybe I should, but I don't think it's really necessary. You just need to be able to do as much damage to Vaporeon as you possibly can, because it is a tank. I think it's probably one of the bulkiest mods you'll be able to solo raid. So yeah, you definitely want to try to get as much damage as you can in there. And I wasn't able to get that last solar beam off, but I was pretty low on health. So we're going in with Vine Whip, Solar Beam, Venusaur again, because we would like to be able to dodge against this Vaporeon. And as you can see, I actually get it. Let's see, am I going to get to... No, it's not going to get to red by 60 seconds, but this one's actually going pretty quick. So just eating these water pulses. One thing I will say is you definitely need to make sure that you get your charge moves off before the raid boss gets its charge move off, because again, if you get hit by a raid boss move, your charge meter goes up a little bit more. And so if you're really close to firing off a solar beam, make sure you are able to fire off the solar beam before this Vaporeon goes for water pulse or water gun or whatever you're fighting. So, yeah, and then I start dodging there. I don't really know if I needed to dodge. Let's see. No, I didn't need to dodge at all. That was just that wasn't even necessary. But I managed to take this Vaporeon out. Vaporeon honestly doesn't do that much damage. You just need to be able to beat it before the timer goes out. You don't need to worry too much about damage, at least on the first two. The third one is a little bit more difficult. So, yeah, we'll go ahead and jump into that one. Alright, now for this last one, you guys are going to be able to see the team preview. This is basically the team I've been using. That 6th slot could be Dragonite or whatever. I think Gengar does see a little bit of time in this match, though. I use Gengar because Gengar does a lot of DPS, and I'm hoping it can get a Shadow Ball off or something before it faints, so that's why I have it there. That could be Dragonite, that could be whatever bulky mon you want to use against Vaporeon. I just don't have a 6th grass attacker, and I don't really feel the need to have one against Vaporeon. So, as you can see, Aqua Tail, this Vaporeon is firing off Aqua Tails really fast. So, you don't really want to dodge against Aqua Tail Vaporeon. Generally, you just want to straight up attack Aqua Tail Vaporeon. Aqua Tail won't do too much to you, but it does stack over time because it is a 3-bar move. A lot like Crunch on Tyranitar, it will stack up really quickly. As you can see, it's doing a lot of damage to Exeggutor. It's just firing off Aqua Tail's like quick moves now. Like it gets pretty crazy. It gets pretty crazy. And am I able to get the Solar Beam off? Nope, I messed up. Oh well. Now for Venusaur, or for any other Grassmon you want to use, you want to go with Razor Leaf, because Razor Leaf is going to do a lot more quick move damage, and you might not be able to get off enough Solar Beams in time anyways to dodge. If you use Vine Whip, you'll be dodging so much, and you won't even be doing that much damage to Vaporeon. So you do want to use Razor Leaf. Razor Leaf is a lot slower, but you can do a lot more damage. As you can see, I'm doing a lot of damage to this Vaporeon, and I think I got like 1 or 2 Solar Beams off. So Venusaur and Exeggutor should be able to eat up Aqua Tails long enough for you to be able to solo this thing. So let me see if I get one more. I don't think I did. Yeah, I don't think I did. Oh well. So we got another Razor Leaf, Solar Beam, or Venusaur. You can use Vileplume and Victory Bell in place of Venusaur, and I actually got to the red pretty slowly against this thing. That's probably because I'm not dodging. I'm not able to save up a lot of Solar Beams. Victory Bell, I'm sure, is great for Vaporeon. It used to be pretty good in the early Pokemon Go days, but it might not be as bulky, and then Vileplume might not have enough attack. But you can use those against Vaporeon. And if I ever do a Tangela Soul Raid, or Vaporeon Soul Raid with Tangela, I'll probably put it on the channel, because that'd be pretty sweet if you can go in with like 6 Tangelas and solo this thing. But I'm able to barely get this. But all of these were pretty close. Like I said, Vaporeon is really bulky, so you're going to have a couple nail biters against Vaporeon, but I was able to solo it, and I think this one is, it looks like a 90%. It was like 1783. So, like I said, this is a good substitute for evolving Eevees. You can just solo raid a Vaporeon and hope to get that perfect Vaporeon. And if it's Suicune month for you, this honestly is way better than Suicune. So, yeah, you definitely want a good number of Vaporeons if you don't already have it. I think most people do. So, anyways, I'd like to thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, do all that good stuff. In the next video, we will go ahead and we will be soloing Gengar. So, that will be... Gengar is honestly my favorite, so I can't wait to show you guys a Gengar solo. So, I will see you guys then. Keep living the dream. Goodbye.